Hello, and welcome back to my little series on the 12 steps of recovery. What a couple of weeks. Jeez. So this week I want to talk about surrender. Surrender is a really important tool for me in my recovery because there's some things that I can't change. Like I said in the last video, I can't change people, places and things. The only thing I can change is my reaction to people, places and things. We got a lot going on right now. We got the new baby, which is beautiful and amazing, and also challenging because we're not getting much sleep. Can't control that. Also, the video production is still going, so I'm having to work extra hard on that side to make sure I keep the content up for you guys. Can't change that. I've just got to get into the solution and just not complain and just jump in. Laura's working as well, so we don't really take time off because what we do doesn't feel like work. It feels like sharing with you guys. You're like family in a way, so it doesn't feel like a job, but it feels more like a calling, you know. But it is tough keeping up with that when you're not really sleeping and with a new baby, and so I can't control that. We're also renovating the house. The cost is just going up and up. We're already over budget and we're like at least another 2 to 3 months to go, so that's a big worry, and I can't control it. I sort of go to bed sometimes in a cold sweat, or I wake up in a cold sweat going, how are we gonna, oh, I don't understand. How are we gonna look after the baby? How are we gonna be good parents? How are we gonna juggle our professional life and our family life? And then I get really panicky and stressed, and how are we gonna do it? And then I just have to go, wait, higher power, I've got to turn this over. Like, if I'd have relied on that self-will to get me sober, I'd still be out there. When I turn my life over and don't try and run the show, things tend to work out. I'm always looked after in the end, and I've got to remember that. I've got to stop trying to take control. I've got to surrender. So now is a real test to my surrender. Just hand it over. I know everything's going to be fine. Everything's always been fine. As long as I don't pick up, everything's fine. As long as I don't use, everything's fine. And that's kind of what if I look back through my life, that's what I know in my heart, because that's the way it's always been. When I hand it over, things are fine. When I try to control, I get anxious, depressed, my life is shit. So yeah, that's where I am. Surrender. Just turn it over. Everything's going to be all right. Everything's always been all right, as long as I don't use and pick up, and as long as I don't try and run the show. And it's an incredible thing to be able to tap into. And I find when I meditate, I get really into that. And I haven't been meditating for months, ever since the lockdown, really. And I know that when I meditate, I get that separation of this is me and my monkey mind, like, just trying to run the show. And then there's another thing that sits behind that. Some people call it the watcher, which is really me, which is always taken care of. And it's just observing this monkey mind going digga, 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 like a pinball machine. So I've got to learn to live in this one, not this one. And meditation really helps me with that. And of course, when something helps, I tend to not do it. Or when something is working really well, I stop doing it. What the hell is all that about? You're like, oh, that's working well, I just stopped doing it. It's crazy, isn't it? Do you have experience with surrendering something that you can't control and then it's all works out just somehow? A higher power is the force that got me sober by handing my will and my life over. And then step 12 is just doing that with everything, all parts of my life. So, you know, I do know that everything's going to be fine, but when I'm not in a healthy mindset, I'll jump back into the monkey mind of just anxiety, depression, panic and fear. So let's not live in fear this week. Let's try to surrender and try to live in the mindset of abundance and being taken care of. I love you guys, and speak to you next week.